Hi. I'm very excited to be on this panel, to be moderating it. Hopefully, the topic, I think, is just as exciting as GDPR is. So we're going to have a really good conversation. OTT is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. We're seeing this shift as more people are streaming content on their own time when they want. And at eMarketer, we actually changed our forecast too because we saw this shift and we saw this growth. We have a great panel here. We have Robin Chaco, who's the Senior Vice President for OTT at Starz. We have Jen Taylor, the Senior Director of Digital Marketing at A&E Networks. And Julia Baxter, the Chief Product Officer at Bloomberg. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's start with what OTT means for you.
For Starz, we started off as OTT being more of a supplemental experience for our cable subscribers. But then what it morphed into is now we have a direct line of touch with our customers. And therefore, that opens up a lot more possibilities in the types of programming that we actually provide. And more importantly, it's also opened up a whole new segment of the audience, the cord nevers or individuals who either can't afford a cable subscription or particularly just want the Starz product.
Okay, Jen?
So I guess I would define OTT as kind of getting any sort of content on your television through the internet. So kind of moving away from only cable, being able to be accessed on TV. At A&E, we have two main types of OTT offerings. One is all of our TV shows that you can watch on TV, you can watch them through our OTT products on your Apple TV or your Roku. And those are all ad-supported. So AVOD, ad-supported video on demand. We also have some SVOD, which is subscription video on demand products, and we have two of those that you can pay monthly for and watch as much content as you want.
Julia, is yours sort of along the same lines, or?
Sure, yeah, I would say we think about our OTT offering as kind of one part of a 360-degree news experience. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is meet a consumer's news desire in any number of functions. So on your commute, or in the case of OTT, when you're at your house, putting on something in the background while you're getting ready for work in the morning, that sort of thing. So it's one part of our overall digital strategy.
And we're seeing that, again, people have this option to watch their favorite shows, their favorite content on whatever device they want, whenever they want. And measuring that can be somewhat of a challenge. So how are you looking at the shift?
Yeah, especially for Starz, we're not trying to cater to all kinds of demos. So we have specific programming that's meant to activate a specific set of demos. So what that does is it gives individuals specifically the ability to interact with our product through any device that they want, whenever or wherever they want. As a result of that, think of the implications of that. For example, if I'm at home and I'm watching Starz, then it's probably a communal experience. I've got my wife with me or my kid with me, and then their judgments kind of factor into what we watch. Well, you can have a more personal experience, and personalized tastes come into effect when you have an OTT service, because now you can watch just what you want, whenever you want, and maybe to a certain extent even explore content a little bit more, because that gives you the ability to say, hey, I like this show, maybe it's something I should introduce my wife for. So that increases the virality aspect of it as well.
Jen?
Yeah, so we're definitely measuring engagement with all of the digital platforms, including OTT. And we've definitely seen kind of the share of where people are watching our content between OTT, mobile, and desktop shifting to OTT. We've seen about 150% increase in kind of share of that platform, while we've seen decreases on both mobile and desktop. So yeah, we're definitely measuring it. People are definitely interested in it, and they're definitely going there.
Did that surprise you, the decrease?
I guess, you know what surprises me most is that mobile is stronger than desktop. Instinctively, you would think the largest screen in the room is what people would choose to watch television on, or television content. So it does surprise me that we see more engagement on mobile than we do on desktop. But it doesn't surprise me that we're seeing the most on OTT, because again, it's the biggest screen in the room.
And Julia, how are you measuring the shift?
I think what's been so interesting to us has been the percentage of our OTT customers that watch for long periods of time. So 30% of our audience is watching for more than 30 minutes, and that's pretty significant, particularly with the rest of our digital platforms where we're seeing watch times that are less than 5 minutes. So we see this as a really powerful channel for us to reach people who want to engage with us for longer periods of time. What's been really interesting is we have a linear broadcast channel that is available on our OTT apps, but we also have our digital originals that we put on this channel as well. And these are really built for mobile, specifically mobile social, this kind of video content, but yet we're seeing it do really well in OTT. And to me, that sort of signals there's an opportunity for us all to think about native to OTT content and what that looks like. And I think it's somewhere in a sweet spot between short form and long form. And I don't think we as an industry have done a ton of experimentation there, but my hunch is that going forward, the 22-minute show isn't necessarily the atomic unit, but it's not like your 1-minute Facebook video either. And so where we choose to play as content providers is going to be really interesting going forward.
We're seeing the same thing from an engagement perspective. We see a 400% increase in video views per viewer from desktop to OTT. It's not quite as stark from mobile to OTT, only 20%, but definitely that means from a marketing perspective, it behooves us to push people there if we think we're going to have them longer. Yeah. Again, a lot of our content is ad-supported, so the longer they're there, the more ads we serve, the more money we make. So we're starting to think about marketing a little bit differently and how to acquire audiences for these new platforms.
And you mentioned digital originals. At this year's Upfronts, a lot of companies mentioned these snackable pieces of content that they were doing on social media, online, to really complement the shows that they were putting out there. Are you doing that as well, or is that something you're looking into?
We've tried different forms, obviously. Most recently at the Power Premiere in New York City, we had 50 Cent perform with a choir and an orchestra. And then we put that up on our OTT platform. It was extremely well received. Now, the trick is sometimes people want the longer forms of entertainment because that's what they're there for. That's a traditional value proposition that we've actually given to them. So the trick is to actually find what is compelling enough where they will start to engage with, not when their primary, I guess the primary objective is watching the show, but the secondary objective is, hey, I want more of this. My next season doesn't show up till August of next year. So how do I kind of stretch my experience between August of this year and August of next year? So I think a vast variation of short form content will sort of help suffice or help fuel that appetite, I guess. Yeah.
Sure.
We've definitely talked about it, but we haven't actually implemented. We have found that what interests people the most is kind of our long-form content. So new episodes of a show is the thing that gets most people excited into our platforms to watch. We have experimented a little bit with kind of how to repackage long-form content. So about a year ago, we launched our first full episode playlist. So this is a stunt where, for example, for Dance Moms, we take a favorite character and we have her pick her 10 favorite episodes. We can then go out to fans of that show and say, hey, watch Chloe's 10 favorite episodes of Dance Moms. We're pushing long-form content to get people back to our platforms between seasons.
Jen, I want to ask you, how are advertisers responding to OTT inventory specifically?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It almost feels like OTT is where mobile was a few years ago. It's definitely where consumers seem to be. We're definitely seeing viewing shift there, but I don't think the advertising community has quite figured it out yet. Is it television? Is it digital? Which team buys it? So I don't think that's quite been sorted out, but I think it has to be the same way it felt that way on mobile. People were on mobile, but we weren't quite filling all the inventory yet.
What do you guys think?
From our perspective, we have a really insatiable desire for video inventory across our digital properties. So we very much, our partners are seeing this as digital inventory. I hear you on the challenges, though. I mean, it's a new space, and so you get some clients that want to, or partners that want to see this as like an experimental buy or a value add, when in actuality it's an authentic video viewing audience. Something I think that if we all looked ourselves in the mirror, we couldn't really say about what we're doing on digital, in some cases with autoplay and what have you. These are audiences that are really sitting down to watch TV. So it's a tremendous opportunity for marketers, but I think there's an awareness gap that we're working through.
I'm on the other side of the equation where, obviously, as a premium service, we have no advertising within our content, but we'd be extremely interested in engaging with inventory that is available when the audience is interacting with a 10-foot device, which is large TV, because that's exactly what our content is made for. So if we can get our product in front of an audience while they're sitting in front of TV, download the app, and then immediately start to engage with the app, it just makes the value significantly more for us. But those opportunities don't necessarily exist at this moment.
Obviously, there's so much opportunity when it comes to OTT, but with that, there are always challenges as well. Are there any that you're seeing in particular?
For me, we have a giant challenge with this behemoth called Netflix, obviously.
Who?
Netflix. I mean, think about it. Their marketing budget is probably the size of many companies put together from a content perspective. So it's hard to sort of fight through that, make sure that we're able to differentiate ourselves, get our product in front of the right people, as in the people who want to engage with our product, at a responsible enough price. So yeah, that's primarily the challenge that we deal with. And associated with that, there comes a whole bunch of other challenges, right? Whether it's talent, tool, tech, all of that. Basically, we're vying for attention just like they do, so it makes it difficult.
But is it something that you're kind of getting to and, I guess,
yeah,
learning along the way?
You know, the benefit of this challenge is the fact that when they spend that much money, and obviously every OTT provider starts to spend that kind of money, it fosters a whole set of innovation and new tools and technologies, and obviously a whole bunch of the partners that are sitting in this room are vying for that financial opportunity. And as a result, a lot of the tech and tools and talent that was probably just limited to Netflix and the company with that kind of a budget is now commoditized and available to other players. So the opportunity there is we can close the gap simply because there's a huge partnership opportunity available to us now.
Jen, Julie, are you seeing the same challenges?
You go first.
I mean, spend is always going to be a challenge. We always have limited budgets, and some companies have bigger limited budgets. So I think breaking through the noise is always going to be a problem. And I think it's about reaching people in the right places where they can take the right action. So we're really focused on, you know, if we're trying to drive a mobile iOS install, we're going to show you an ad on your mobile iOS phone. So it's similar for OTT. It's, you know, how do we reach people who we know have these devices and then can engage with us, who have the devices, who are interested in the content I'm selling, and who can take action immediately. And I think one of our biggest challenges is measurement. I don't think I show an ad on OTT, did they install my OTT app, has really been solved yet.
We have similar challenges when it comes to marketing. You know, I would say there are additional challenges that I think we all face. Number one, discovery. These platforms are ultimately sort of closed universes, and I think Jen, your point is so well taken about the early days of mobile. These are, you know, essentially if you know, there's an app for that. If you build an app, you know, but who can find it? So a lot of our audience today is like, you know, organic brand loyalists, and is that us reaching new audiences? That's not, you know, no, and we really want to do that. So there's a discovery issue within the ecosystems themselves. I would also, just putting on my tech hat, it's so fractured. And you have to reach the kind of audiences you want to reach from an OTT perspective, you've got to build on 5 different platforms, and that's expensive. And there isn't a lot you can leverage, you know, from one thing to the other aside from design. And so you end up either partnering or building in-house, and it's a lot of expertise to build up. And while the audiences are there and growing, you know, it's a big investment. And so I think as you get into the space, you start to realize, wow, I'm kind of in it for the long haul, you know. I think companies did the same thing with the rise of mobile. You know, we all started, oh, we got to build an app, and then it's like, oh man, you got to update that app every year, and you know, people expect new features every 6 weeks, and OTT's in the same boat, and that's an expensive proposition.
That's really interesting, and which leads to my next question. Should everyone invest in an OTT solution? Is it for everyone?
I'm curious. I mean, there might be a whole set of players that will choose just to be content providers. If the market is so hot on the OTT side, that means they're all paying top dollar for content, and therefore a few companies might actually pivot over in that direction. But I think competition is always good. It kind of mixes things up anyway, and with competition comes innovation. So yeah, I'd encourage more people to start investing, and that'll develop the talent, and that'll just make things a lot. It'll develop high-quality services to an audience that probably really needs it.
Jen?
I'm going to say it depends. It depends who you are. It depends what your product is. It depends where your users are. It depends on your resources. I agree it should definitely be considered. It should be thought about. It should be evaluated. But to just say you should build because it's there and people are there, I'm trying to think of a really bad example of an app on OTT that would be a disaster. But I'm sure those exist.
They're interesting, right? Look, do I think everyone should invest? The answer is no. If video is a part of your core content offering, I think you have to seriously consider it. It's a great way to touch audiences, but I totally echo what you're saying. The big players are taking up a huge share on these devices right now. You may be better off being a content provider to a Netflix or a Hulu. That may be better for your business, and so it's worth considering. It is expensive, but it can be rewarding. And I think if more people take themselves out of the game, we run a risk of little innovation. So, take for example, Amazon has an Apple TV app, and when I saw that, I was like, well, what is this for, And I bought my daughter a backpack on it, and it was like a completely weird shopping experience, and I don't think this is what I necessarily thought my Apple TV was for. But at the same time, if we're not exploring what commerce looks like through these platforms, how are we going to push it forward? Because it's not going to be just TV delivered a different way. That's a missed opportunity for the platform. So, I think there are different problems OTT can solve for companies, and it's worth exploring it. You just got to make sure you account for the marketing budget it's going to take to drive that awareness, because the platforms aren't going to do it for you.
Imagine shopping. You're watching a TV show and you're like, oh, I like that outfit, ding, and it just buys it.
Right. I mean, there's so many cool opportunities to take this. That's what gets me really excited, is that fundamentally this becomes way more than just passive TV watching, and it's like a true interactive, gamified experience. I mean, for news as a use case in particular, that totally lights me up. Today, that investment isn't totally worth it for me. But man, is it cool. And so I want to be in the space. I want to keep growing that audience to see if we can get there.
Home assistance connecting with OTT is kind of in that direction.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure how much people are doing it.
Yeah, it's an early adopter problem, and connected devices, I think, and OTT are both in that. I love this mobile analogy, but are in that kind of mobile 2.0, moment where we're all trying to figure out how to use them best, and customers are figuring it out.
I mean, I'm excited for the time where I could just watch a show and then say, I really love that dress that character is wearing, and shop it. I feel like we heard this analogy a while back, T-commerce. Hopefully it kind of takes off a bit more than social commerce did, but hopefully it'll happen soon. Let's kind of move on a little bit to attribution. So what's the role that attribution plays or could play in OTT? Julia, do you want to take that one first?
Sure. I mean, I think that, we have real challenges in trying to figure out who to market to on other channels. We don't know what OTT provider you have. So being able to attribute kind of the OTT awareness marketing we're doing on our existing platforms or on other platforms and tying that to a download would really help us drive better marketing. I just don't think the tech's there yet.
There are definitely partners that are starting to play in that space that can identify Apple TV owners or Roku owners, or you can buy through Roku. Roku has their RMF, Roku Marketing Framework. We've implemented it, but we haven't been able to activate it yet. The hard thing about tracking is it takes time to collect the data. And from a TV perspective, we have our shows once a year. So we need a full year of data before we can leverage that data for the next year's show. I think attribution is an opportunity for whatever company wants to build solutions. So if any of you guys have solutions, we'd love to try them.
Yeah, attribution is extremely important, especially when you're catering to a niche market. What you want to do is understand the right channels that provide the most amount of yield. But at the same time, just to echo what both of you were saying, there's not a lot of partners out there who can give us proper visibility into full funnel attribution, right? Or multi-touch attribution, for instance. So there's a lot more developments that need to happen in that space for us to truly optimize our spend. At the moment, it's probably more on the lower funnel where things can be measured extremely well, and the upper funnel remains a little bit of a mystery, but we're still trying to crack that out.
Are there any goals with OTT that are distinct from other marketing channels?
You know, we started off from a perspective of the usual, cost per subscriber or and balancing that against an LTV or an ROI. But now what we're doing is, especially with the last release of Power, is we're trying to integrate it a little bit more where, okay, what does the upper funnel do for us by way of softening our prices? And how do we measure its impact? Or what are the leading indicators for its impact? So that accordingly we can up or lower our bids and take full advantage of what's happening. But for the most part, yes, right now the goals and the metrics are all distinct. But we kind of hope that with continued investment, with continuing to merge the two talent bases together, that we will start to get something that's a little bit more robust and holistic.
I think it's attribution and metrics. We know what we can track as far as engagement, but kind of where people are coming from, how they're getting there, it's all a bit of a black hole.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the same boat.
And how are you kind of overcoming that? I mean, you mentioned, the Roku integration and waiting a year.
Yeah, so that's as far as activating targeting against. We can now see when running ads on Roku, what's happening post-install, which is great. It's definitely in the right direction. But that's one solution for one partner. It's not a solution that solves all of our partner kind of relationships. We can only leverage that on the Roku platform. We couldn't work with a partner on Roku or on Apple TV and track.
We spoke about how people are on different platforms, different channels consuming this content. Social media is a big channel that they're turning to also. How is social media disrupting the OTT space, especially now that Facebook, Instagram, Twitter are clearly making a play for longer form content?
It's interesting, right? I'm not sure if you guys caught Cobra Kai on YouTube. That was a great show. I think it's complicated. It's not naturally their space. So for us, especially where we have long-form content and we're into television shows with multiple episodes, it's going to take a certain amount of investment for them to really understand how that world works. So right now we look at them as more as complementary services where, hey, we put out the show, but it gives the audience a platform to sort of engage about the show or dwell deeper into it. Or it gives us an opportunity to put out shorter, bite-sized content out to the audience as well. But from a perspective of them sort of jumping in, I haven't really seen a lot. I know Twitter's doing its thing, but it's live TV. YouTube, obviously, with their long form, but on Facebook and Instagram with their stories. But I just feel like those are more complementary experiences as opposed to primary experiences.
So I think it's less of a question about social media specifically and more of a question about content. I think what content is, how we consume it, and who's making it has shifted dramatically in the last 30 or 40 years, even in the last 5 to 10 years. Scripted, premium television content is competing with YouTube. And that's the world that we're in now. It's what do people want to watch, where do they want to watch it, and how do they want to consume it? So I think it's part of the reason why we're all here and we work on digital platforms and drive to digital products is because people are there. That's where they're watching content at a much smaller scale than linear television right now, but they're still there. So if they're there, we want to be there for them, and we want them to engage with our content there.
From a publisher perspective, this is an interesting moment for us because take Bloomberg specifically, we're partnered with Facebook on Facebook Watch. We have a show for Facebook Watch. We're doing some experiments with IGTV. We're really excited about that. YouTube's a big channel for us. So for us, and I think it gets back to the frenemy theme you hear sometimes, for us, it's a real opportunity to grow our audiences on other people's platforms in addition to being potentially competitive with what we're trying to do in owned and operated. I think I look at those kind of channels for us as sort of top of the funnel awareness. Is this a distribution play that can get some broader awareness for what we're trying to do? And as we get deeper and deeper down the funnel, we have a new subscription model in addition to our ad-supported business model. As we get in our owned and operated properties, that's where we really start to make our money, and the rest is just kind of awareness. To your larger point, does Facebook become the watching platform of the future? I don't know, but I see this wonderful moment in OTT right now where it's critically important for publishers of all kinds and entertainment providers to say, what are we going to create that's native to this space? Because I guarantee you, the way publishers right now are like, Facebook, 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 right? Complaining about Facebook. In 5 years, if we don't create something that's truly spectacular for customers, in 5 years, we're going to be like, Hulu, Hulu, Hulu. The news show of Hulu has taken all our time, and we don't get enough play or promotion and fake news on Hulu or whatever it is. And, I see it as our responsibility to really make sure we're there and native to platform on those platforms, but also creating something truly unique for customers on our owned and operated channels on the platform as well.
So we're running out of time, but let's close out with, we talked a lot about how it's rapidly growing and issues and challenges. What's next for OTT? What do you think? We talked about television commerce, so maybe that's one thing.
Interesting. Television commerce obviously is one particular thing, but also how this whole environment shapes up, right? There's wholesale propositions now from Amazon. There's retail propositions direct to market with the OTT side, obviously. What are some of the traditional cable providers going to do? So I guess there's a lot of items in flux right now, and I think we're probably in like the first inning when it comes to OTT. There's a lot more to happen, a lot more evolution that'll happen, a lot more partners that will get into the mix, a lot more tech that'll probably blow all of this out. So it's just a great time to be in this business, and it's a great time to be a TV lover because you've never had so many choices before and so many choices at your fingertip, at your convenience for when you want to watch it, wherever you want to watch it. So it's just a great time to be here.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a product person, so I'm not able to speak to kind of the technology to come, but I think about our phones and how they're always with us and how we can do whatever we want on them. We can look something up, we can call our Uber, we can listen to music, and a world where that television screen is no longer just for cable television. It's now this connected thing that does all those things in your home doesn't feel that far-fetched.
Great, Julia?
To continue my long-running half-an-hour love fest with Jen, for me, what's really exciting about this is that from a news perspective specifically, we're always trying to provide context for our audience. What does it all mean, right? And I see a world where, video as we currently think about it, complete with interactive data, could really provide a much richer picture of the news than we can in straight video today. And to me, that's an incredibly powerful opportunity for the news space.
Great, thanks so much. I wanted to thank Robin, Jen, and Julia for all of your insights. Thanks.